Hi everybody, welcome back. Continuing to work on our Prima Spring Farmhouse books. And last time we made our covers for two different books. One that we're going to decorate in a very minimal way, and the other one we're going to go a little more over the top. We've already made the pages for the vertical book, which is the one that we're going to do in the more minimal style. And I want to show you now how to make the pages for the square book, the 6x6 book. And I'm going to use the same technique that I've used in several of my other books, where we're going to fold a single sheet to get our pages. So you're going to need 3 sheets of 12 by 12 cardstock. Let me move these two out of the way. In whatever color you're using, I am using artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations in the color Craft. And what I want you to do is place each sheet in your scoreboard and score at 6 inches. And then rotate it 90 degrees and score again at 6 inches. So basically you're scoring in half. I've already scored this one, so I'm just demonstrating. You're just scoring a cross. You're scoring it in half, both directions. Okay? So move that out of the way. And then what I want you to do is fold it on the score line. However, you may not have scored absolutely perfectly. So what I want you to do is line up your corners, because that's more important than scoring on whatever line you scored. And if that's a little different than what you scored, that's fine. Just hold your corners together and score. And then double check, make sure the corners are still together. Mine are a tiny bit off. Go ahead and line those up. Okay. And then open it up and repeat it. And again, you want to line up your corners. And the reason I score, even though I know the score is not going to be necessarily exact, is it helps the paper to bend and reduces chances of cracking. Although this paper really doesn't crack, but so again, make sure your corners are lined up so that you're square, okay? And just refold it a couple of times. Okay. Then you want to take your scissors. Find my scissors. Hang on, I don't see them. What am I doing with my scissors? Well, I don't see my big scissors. I will use my little ones. That's odd. There they are. I knew I had them because I just used them. All right. Take your scissors and you're going to choose one line and cut. And you're going to cut along from the outside to the center and not past it. Doesn't matter which one, they're all the same. I'm just doing this one because I had one off when I was scoring a little, so this seems like a good one. And you could do this on your trimmer. You'd probably get a straighter cut, but I'm not very good at doing that on my trimmer. Okay. All right, so now you've got an opening, right? So again, you've got to fold in half, so now the opening is down below, and then you're going to fold this way. All right, so what you're going to end up with is you've got an opening here, you've got a fold here. Do you see that? It's open on the bottom here, open on the side, and open here. So what we're going to do, again, the fold is up here. So you've got an opening here, so it opens this way, it opens this way, and we're going to close this bottom. See how it's open now? We're going to close it, so you end up with a side opening for an insert, and then like this. So you end up with all these pages out of just one, and that's why we're only using 3 pages in this book. And we're going to use 2 different methods to close this bottom. So let me show you the first one. You want a piece of your paper that is 6 inches. I cut mine actually a hair less, maybe 15, 5 and 15/16 or even 5 7/8. And score it lengthwise down the middle at a 1/2 inch. fold it in half, burnish it. Okay, and what we're going to do, this is going to form a gusset that we're going to, okay, so let me show you. So here's our cut side, here's the fold. And you open it up, so now you've got the cut here, the fold here. You're going to place this right up against this lower edge and just check it for fit. Make sure you cut it. You can see it just fits. By cutting it just a hair short, it just fits. It makes up for having that fold. You don't want to interfere with that fold on the side. Okay, so now we're going to take our glue. I hope you could see that. I'm gluing it right down here along the bottom edge here. The cut is here. It's cut here. This is the fold. I'm going to do one page like this, and we're going to do 2 pocket pages. And if you've done this sort of page with me before, you know how to do that, but well, I'm going to show you. And actually, probably should have trimmed that, but that's okay. If you want, go ahead and trim those corners. And you want to put it right along the bottom. You can be in just a hair if you want. And let's see, let me get my baby wipe here. Okay, so we have now a fold up here, and right now we haven't glued it yet, but we're going to have a fake fold down there where we're making our gusset. So this piece is going to come folded down, and move this one out of the way, and get glued there. Okay. So we're just going to, you know what, even though I didn't do the other side, I will trim this one a little bit. Probably use your little scissors would be a better idea. Way. And fold this one over. Now if you don't want to have, when you see how I do the other pockets, I'm doing pockets on the other ones. If you don't want to do it that way, you want to do all 3 this way, then certainly go ahead and do that. Or do all 3 with pockets. I like to mix it up a little, so I'm going to do one like this and the other 2 with pockets. All right, so now we have this side, which is, let me get that glued down. This side is going to go on the hinge, and this side is for a side pocket. Okay. Make sure that's glued. Okay, so that one's done. Let's set that one aside. Let's get the next one. And we're going to do the same folding. We're going to match our corners. Match the edge. Match that corner. And take a minute when you're doing this to get this part right, because it will make a difference in how things look later. It'll make your pages much more even. Okay. And match up our corners again. And I'm going to take my scissors and let's see, cut, try to be straight. Again, if you're comfortable with using your trimmer to make these partial cuts, it's definitely the way to go, but I tend to cut too far when I'm doing that, or slightly off, so I'm just using my scissors. There we go. So now, again, we have our opening. Here's our fold. Here's where our side pocket's going to be, and here's the other side. So for this, all right, so here's the fold. Here are the two cut pieces off to the side. I'm going to make a pocket. Let me give you the measurements. All right, this is a scrap. So if you have a scrap that's a slightly different size, that's fine. This one is 3.5. Just going to give me, it's going to give me a 3-inch high pocket. And I think that's actually higher than I want. So I'm going to trim this down. I really want not a very deep pocket. I think I'd like the pocket 2 1/4. So I'm going to cut these to 2 3/4 inches wide. Okay, let me trim these. Okay, so you can make them however wide you want, but these are 2 3/4. And the width, let me give you, the width is, I cut mine 6.5. These are 6 inches. So that's only going to give me a 1/4 inch on either side. And the reason I did it that way is I had scraps. If you have a piece big enough, go ahead and cut it 7, and that way you can do 1/2 inch flaps, but I'm fine with 1/4 inch flaps. So these are, mine are 2 3/4 by 6.5, and you can cut yours 2 3/4 by 6.5 as well, or by 7 if you prefer the 1/2 inch. Right, so let me show you what to do with these. Do the same thing with both. Set that aside for a moment. Place it in your scoreboard. These are 2 3/4, so that's 1 3/8 would be in half. Turn it where I can see it. It's 3/8. So you're going to score it vertically in half. Okay. Then you're going to turn it and score. In my case, I'm going to score 1/4 inch because I did not leave myself enough to do a half. I'm using scraps, but if you've got a 7-inch piece, then score it at a 1/2 inch. And I'm scoring mine at 1/4, which will be fine. Yeah, if you ever find yourself, in a position where you're just a 1/2 inch too short, just by adjusting the width of flaps that you need to score, you might be able to use that piece, which is what I'm doing. And I had plenty of paper. I could have cut other, but I just didn't. I just wanted to use these scraps since I had them, rather than cut into new paper. Okay, and let's set that aside. And now we're going to fold them in half. These you don't have to be so fussy about the corners matching because each side is going to be on a different side of the paper. You won't be able to see it. Okay, and then you're going to take your little scissors, get these big ones out of the way. All right, and you want to trim. And trim there. Right, and then with it folded in half, just trim there. And I'm only going up to, but not past the score mark. Right, so you're going to end up with something that looks like that, and yours might have 1/2 inch flaps, whereas mine has 1/4. So let me just repeat on this side. We have 2 pockets. Some of these little trimmings. Now I'm going to fold our tabs, my tiny little ones, in to the inside like this. Score. Or, excuse me, burnish. Okay, that, burnish that. Just put my cover on my scissors before I cut myself with them. And same with this one. And you know what? I just realized, because I forgot that I was going to fold this in half, I'm going to end up with quite a short pocket. Hang on. Wasn't even thinking when I cut this. So let me just see where we're at. So I'm going to end up with a short pocket, which is okay with me because that's kind of what I wanted. So I'm going to end up with a 1.5 inch pocket, which is okay. But if you want a higher pocket, learn from my mistake. Say you wanted a 2-inch pocket, cut your piece 4 inches wide, right? Because you're going to fold it in half. But this is, I'm fine with this. Like that. Okay. All right. Now, this can be a little fussy to do this pocket, but what we're going to do is put glue on the tabs. Whoops, I don't think you can see me. Just on one side. I don't have any glue on these yet. Okay, and then I like to do it from the front. And just going to attach it to your page. Make sure you can still fold it over. Okay, making sure you don't interfere with any of your fold lines. Mine overhangs a little tiny bit, but not enough for me to be worried about it. Okay, then fold it this way, and we're going to take and do the other side. And again, this pocket is pretty much 100% your personal taste. It's a little shorter than I intended it because I made that mistake, but it's still fine. But if you like it a big deep pocket, by all means, you could even make one long and one short by scoring it not in half. Okay, that looks good. So I have a page with a little pocket. And you know what I might do though, because I did, so I don't care if these are all exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is make a wider pocket, I think. If I have a scrap. I'm not going to cut anything special, but I do have a scrap. Okay, so let me show you with a wider pocket. Here's our page. Okay, so let's see, I don't even know how big this is. I just grabbed a scrap. And it's 7 inches long, I think. Yeah, 7 inches long by, this one's 4.5. All right. Let me go ahead and put my pin in my glue. All right, so we're going to do the exact same thing with this one. So 4.5, 2 1/4 would be in half. And hang on a second. You know what, I'm just going to trim a teeny tiny bit off of this, just to make sure it fits. I trimmed just a fraction off. Okay. Now, let's take our page. We still need to fold it. And we're going to line up our corners just like we did with the other two. I'll line up this corner. Alright. And this direction. can see, I'm cutting slowly. I don't want to rush this step. I'm going to get as neat a cut as I can since I'm cutting it by hand. Okay. All right. So this is where the pocket's going, down here. Here's the fold. And I'm going to do a little dry fit. I probably should have done on the other one. It looks just a hair long. I don't know if you can see that, because I want to make sure I'm just to the inside. It's probably all right, but just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna see what I do with my score. I'm not gonna score it a full eighth further in. I'm just gonna score it about a 16th. Just because I want to make sure it's a good fit. All right. So now, yeah, that's going to be fine. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and trim the corners. On this one I did the 1/2 inch flap. All right, and then we're going to fold it in half, finish it, and then cut this one. And that one. And then since this one I did a little, scored a little extra, I'm just going to trim some off of this. There we go. All right. Okay. Let's drop my scissors. Okay, so here's the fold. Here's the opening. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold our tabs to the inside of our pocket. Turned it around so the opening is here and the fold is down towards me. And I'm going to just put a little glue on these tabs, like this. And then I'm going to line it up. I'm going to lift it up. I hope you can see what I'm doing, but sure I can still fold it over. There we go. And I lined this up, as with most things, more to the outside than to this fold, because we want to make sure it doesn't interfere with that fold. All right, that looks good. And I'm just going to brush that down. Okay. Then we're going to just turn it over. Open that. And put a little glue, probably not that much glue. Go. You can see how quickly this goes when you're doing it like this. And fold it over. Alright, so there we go. And brush. I'm going to put my pin back in my glue. Alright. So in just a few minutes, with very little cutting, we have got 3 pages, and here's where they're going to attach to the binding, and they're going to have quite a bit of space in between them, and then we have all of these pages. So each one, so we open it up, we have the deeper pocket, another deeper pocket, another page, and we have this page with a shallow pocket, and a shallow pocket, and then this one, which we'll probably separate them and put them like this. Put this one here, and then we'll put this one in the middle, which has no pocket and no pocket, and then the other one with the pockets. All right, so that's all the pages for this book. This is the one we're going to do a lot of embellishing on. All right, and then let's see where we want to go next. Now, this page, we'll probably add some more things to this in terms of flips or something. Maybe even more pockets, belly bands, things like that. But first, let's go ahead and switch over and start working on the other book. Okay, so this is the other book, which we already made the pages. Okay, so I've got a whole lot of things for each page, which we're going to start with this page. Okay, let me set this aside and grab all the things for this page, and that's going to be for the back. Okay, so here's one of our pages. You can see this is just a tube that we already made, and this is going to be the spine. This is going to be the outer edge. So I have a full flap that is the same size as the page that's going to open like this. Okay, and then I have these two flaps, which are slightly shorter, and they are going to flip like this. Okay, so there'll be a lot of places for pictures. All right, let me give you measurements. This is your page. You've already made that. So your inner flaps, the smaller ones, are 4.5 by 6. You need 2 of those. And your outer flap is 5 by 7. And you only need 1 of those. So let's grab our little scoreboard. And we're going to start with the larger one, the 5 by 7. And you're going to lay that with the 5-inch edge along the top of your scoreboard, right? And just score it at 1/2 inch or at 4.5, whatever's easier for you. So that's our 1/2 inch. Okay, remember that. Then take your 2 shorter pieces and, sorry, you're going to put them this way. You're going to put the long edge, the 6-inch edge along the top of your scoreboard, and score at 1/2 inch. All right, you're going to do that for both. Do a little fit. This is one of those situations where I feel like I'm more comfortable if the page was actually in the book. This gives me an idea if I need to trim things, but I think we can still judge. All right, so these are going to be here, and I think what I'm going to do, they're the exact same width as the page, which is fine, but we're going to have that other page flipping over it. We have the spine here, so I'm going to take these 2 short ones. I'm going to put them in my paper trimmer and just trim a little tiny bit off of this side, like a 1/16 of an inch. So let me do that, just to make sure that they fit properly and don't catch on anything. Okay, just so you can see. I mean, that's how little I trimmed off. All right, so that's these 2 inner pieces. And then the outer one is probably going to need to be trimmed, but we will see after. All right, so let's do these inside ones first. Just fold and burnish. And fold and burnish. Take out your scissors. We're going to trim our corners. That is my cat. If you can hear her in the background, there was a lizard crawling on the screen and she's trying to catch it. The window screen. Okay. There we go. Now we're we're going to take these and we're going to lay one along the top and line it up with the what's ultimately going to be the outer edge, so that tiny little bit I trimmed off is here to the inside. Okay? And of course at this stage it's not going to matter which is the inside, which is the outside until we get to that side flap. Alright, so just put some glue there. Down, grab my baby wipe. All right, so there's one. Let's take the second one. And I remember which one. Okay, so I've decided that this side here is going to be my spine side. So this one's going to go in the same way. Okay. And burnish. Okay, so now we have our two flaps. But then we have this flap. And we have an option with this one. So let's go ahead and just fold it and trim it. And see how it fits first. Okay, now, actually, we don't really have an option with this. We have to do it the way I was thinking, which is this one is going to be inserted into the side pocket opening, like so. And that looks like a good fit side to side. I don't think I need to trim it. All right, so all right. So normally, like with these flaps, we put the glue here because we're going to put them on top of the paper. But because we're inserting this one, we need to put it on this inside part of the flap. Let me get my scissors out of the way here. All right. All right. Now I'm going to open these up to get them, make it easier for you to see. All right, so this is going to be our spine. So this is going to get inserted in here into this opening, glue side up. Make sure you don't go past your score mark. Just you want to be just up to the score mark. Okay. Just be careful you've got that glue in the right place, otherwise you're going to glue your side pocket opening closed. All right, so now we have this, this, and this. And we still have our opening here. And we'll grab a scrap of something here. I'm going to show you. So that's going to go all the way in there. Make sure we didn't glue it closed. All right, and then, before we forget, because as anybody who's watched my channel for any length of time knows, I have a habit of forgetting to put magnets in. So we're going to put the magnets in right now. And I want to grab them. And you want two good strong magnets, like Basic Grace, the large ones. I don't really like the small ones so much. I usually use large magnets, or at least reasonably large. All right. So I'm just going to put one of them about here, and then the other one will go on here. Okay. Grab my tape. Okay, I'm just going to right about here. You don't have to measure. I'm just putting it off center about in the middle. And then let's grab a couple of scraps. There you go. And you just let it fall where it's going to stick to the other one, so you know where to put your adhesive. This is assuming you don't already have adhesive on your magnets. The basic grays, which you can get from Country Craft Creations, do have the adhesive. Okay, there's that, and then you're just going to close this over. Let's see. Up, and down. Perfect. Okay, so that's the first of the pages with all their flaps. I'm going to turn it over. Now remember, this side where the flaps inserted is the outside. This is the spine now, because I've turned it over. And on the back side, we're just going to put a pocket. And the pocket is cut 3 inches by 5.5. Grab our scoreboard real quick. And you're going to score 2 of the short sides and 1 long side at 1/2 inch. Going to do a little dry fit to make sure it's going to fit. Looks pretty good. I'll double check when it's folded. All right, you're going to trim the corners out. Again, let's fold and fold. And then the 2 side ones go to the inside and the bottom one goes on top. That just makes it a little easier to get things in and out of the pocket. Let's double check for fit again. All right, it's a little wide. I'm going to see if I can just take one of these sides in just a touch. I'm just pulling it over just a little bit because I really don't need very much. Just a little. And I'm just going to trim that again. Sure I don't have anything sticking out. Okay. Yes, that's better. Okay. It was only a hair, but it's enough. I just want to remind myself this is the outside, this is the spine. So we're just going to put a dab of glue on the 2 sides, fold the bottom over, burnish those. And then we're going to put our glue. My glue bottle's getting messy. Got to clean it. That's because I keep forgetting to put the pin back in it. I'm really bad about that. Okay. I'm just going to clean up my glue bottle a little bit. Again, this is the side pocket. This is the spine. Whoops. Well, that was kind of a mess. All right, we'll clean that up. Okay, and I'm just going to burnish that into place. Use our baby wipe, and then especially because I just dropped that pocket with the glue, let's make sure I haven't glued anything shut. Okay, that's fine. All right, so that's the first of our 4 pages. We have our magnet here, and then our 2 flaps. Turn the page over and we have a pocket. All right. And let's go ahead. I'm going to set this aside and see what we have for our next page. Let me see. All right. I want to make sure I know what I have, because I cut everything, but of course I don't remember what I cut them, what I intended for each one. I can't remember. Should have written it down. All right, let's see. All right, hang on a second. I'm going to check my notes so I can see exactly what I've got. All right, so this is the second page, the front of the second page, and I remembered what I cut these for. I used to do, and I still do occasionally, in a lot of books, a double flap, kind of like a door that met in the middle and it opened like this, but it's kind of a pain to do because they never meet exactly perfectly, and you don't want them to meet where they touch because then that causes eventually damage to the paper. So you have to have this perfect little gap between them, and it's not that hard, but it's kind of fussy. So in this case, we're going to do something very similar, but we're going to overlap them just to make things easier for ourselves. So again, we're going to grab our little scoreboard, set a page aside, and give you the measurements. Again, a lot of these are scraps. The sizes were determined by scraps from the cutoffs when I was making the pages. So this is 7 inches long by 3.5 inches wide, and there are 2 of them. Okay, so place the short side in your scoreboard across the top and score at 1/2 inch. And repeat that on the other one. Okay. Now these, I know just from past experience that I'm going to want the corners rounded, but I think I'm only going to use the 1/4 inch. So I'm just going the side opposite where I scored and rounding those 2 corners. You could use a decorative punch on the corners. You could use a decorative punch all along the edge. Would be really pretty. But since I'm going for a very simple look in this album, I'm not going to. We may do some decorative punching in the other version. And we'll see. Trimming, as always, the flaps. Just be careful you don't go past the score mark. All right, there we go. This is a really easy page to do. And we're going to put these on the top because they're going to be covered by a mat, so they don't need to be inserted in the side like that other one. Okay, and just line that up along the edge. And goodness, once again, I've used way too much glue. All right, and then we're just going to repeat this on the other side. Oops, over. Just get that extra glue off. And we have a choice here. We could use a magnet, but I think we'll use some seam binding on this one to hold this one closed, or something like that. All right, so that page, we're probably going to do a belly band on the back. So that one's done. Set that one aside. And then, all right, this one, if you haven't, I'm sort of on the front of most of the pages in this book. There's 4 pages. I'm putting a flap or flat mechanism of some sort, and then a pocket or belly band on the backs. So this is a flap. This is a smaller flap. And, so this one you're going to cut 5 by 5. Hey everybody, I am interrupting this little section of video because after I recorded it, I remembered that I had these cards. And if you have these cards, you might want to cut this flap a different size and use one. So let me give you measurements if you decide to do that. Let me just double check. Yeah, they're 4 by 6 cards. The page is 4.5, so you would still cut the flap 5 inches wide. That's what we did, but you want to cut it longer to be like 6.5, 6.25. Okay, so you just make the same flap just the way we did, but cut it long enough if you've got these to use them. And I completely forgot I had them, or I would have cut mine that way. You know, use something like this to mat it, okay? So you can either cut it the measurements that I gave you, or you could cut it 5, and then you're going to score it at 1/2 inch. You're going to end up with 4.5. So cut it 5 by 6.5 if you want to fit one of these cards on it, okay? All right, back to the video. This is the 3rd page, the front of the 3rd page. And again, place it in the scoreboard. It's the 5-inch edge. Somehow the corners of my, I don't know if you can see, the corners of my cardstock got a little bent, so I'm trying to put those in wherever I've got a flap to hide it. All right, so we're going to do a 5-inch. Of course, it's a 5 by 5 square, so just put it and score 1/2 inch to make a flap. This is super easy. I'm probably going to round this one as well. Trim. Right, and then after you fold it over in your pocket, this is going to be the spine. This is going to be the outer edge. Just lay it on there, check it for fit. And it fits exactly, which is kind of not what I want, just because, again, you don't want it bumping in the spine. So I'm just going to, again, trim just a tiny bit off that outer edge. Again, that's what I trimmed off, just the tiniest bit. And I am going to round these corners, again, with the 1/4 inch. And you can use whatever tool you have. You don't even have to do it. You could angle them. I'm using my Crocodile. It has a 1/4 inch on one side, a 1/2 inch on the other. I find it handy. And I'm just going to eyeball where this goes, about in the middle. Oops, my goodness. Well, that's not where the glue goes, though. Okay. And I'm just going to turn it sideways. I'm eyeballing it, but I've also got my mat. That helps a little bit. There we go. And make sure we didn't go it shut. Now this one we are going to use a magnet. I'll grab a couple. Where's my tape? Oops, I don't want that tape. That's too big. Oh, there it is. I've got all my embellishments and things over here to the side. So. When I bought the collection, I think I probably explained this to you already. Loved it so much that I bought everything that went with it. But then the more I looked at it, the more I wanted to do this sort of fairly minimal album to put really old family photos in. But I also wanted to do I wanted to use all those things, so that's why we're doing 2 versions. I think this is, I don't know, this may be about the second or third time I've done 2 versions of the same book. Drop my magnet. Hey, where did it go? I'm trying to get the back of my tape off. I think the next project I'll only do one. Okay, there we go. And let's see, I think I'm going to put this magnet on here just so I get it where I want it on the flap. When you're doing it on something like this, you want to make sure you're back far enough that it's easy for you to mat without having to try to cover up the magnet. And then we're going to grab a couple of scraps. Oh, did I put the adhesive on the wrong side? Hang on. Okay, it's stuck to my finger. Nope, there it is, that's fine. Okay. And let's tip it over. That. Okay, I think I'll leave this small scrap in there just to, until you get it matted, those magnets really stick. So this is the front of this page. The back of this page I think is going to be a belly band. And then this, all right, that's our double flap. I think, or a belly band there, I don't know. I hadn't decided exactly yet. I decided a lot of things, but not everything. This I was thinking was going to be a vertical pocket. It was a scrap, so I can only do 1/4 inch tabs. I'll give you the measurements and you can cut yours. The size, I do have a longer one if I want to do 1/2 inch tabs. I think I will. I think I'll use this one. Okay, so let me give you the measurements. All right, so this is 3, it's actually 3 3/16, but you could go 3 1/4. It's easier to measure. So 3 1/4 by, I believe I need 8. 3 1/4 by 8. I'm gonna cut this down to 8. And grab our little scoreboard. And I'm gonna score 1/2 inch down one long side and 1/2 inch on both of the short sides. Just making a pocket here. Someday I'll have to show you my messy little cart that I have there off to the side. Just one of those 3-tier rolling carts, those little metal carts. You see them at IKEA and Michael's, and I think Target has one. Let's see what I do with my cover for my scissors. There it is. before we glue this down. Let's do a little dry fit. This is the spine, this is the outer edge, and I'm going to put the pocket on the outer edge, I think. You can do it either way. Usually I actually put them on the spine side. That's kind of why I was thinking of doing it on the outer side this time. Hang on. Just want to make sure this is fitting. Yeah, that's okay. Find my pin for my glue. I don't know what I do with it. It's on this table somewhere. All right, and then since this page is not actually in the book yet, there's no commitment which side you put it on yet. You can put it in the book however you want. I'm just going to lay it down. Here we go. And make sure I didn't glue it shut. Okay, let me go ahead. I have a spare pin right here, since I can't find my blue one. I'll stick the red one, and I'll find the blue one after. Okay, there we go. All right, I think we've done enough for today. Let's just review what we have here. So this is our triple flap with the magnets. There's a little pocket. Here's a double flap. And we haven't decided yet exactly what we're going to put on the back of this one, but most likely a belly band. This one has the smaller flap with the magnet. And again, we haven't decided yet on the back of this one. Still have a couple of things that I like to use that's catching on the magnet. And then I have this pocket, which I'm thinking is going to go this direction here. And then we have to decide what we're going to put here. But we have made a lot of progress with these pages. So these go in here. And then we made all of our pages for here. So I think we've got plenty done for today. Next time we will finish, let me bring both books over. Next time we'll finish, we'll put whatever else we need to in this book. We'll perhaps get this one, we haven't made a binding yet for this one, so we need to do a binding and decide what we're going to do on some of those pages. So we will continue working on our 2 books next time. Thank you so much for watching. Please like my channel if you, please like the video if you enjoyed it, I should say. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And thank you so much if you have. Excuse me. Thank you so much if you have. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.